হরে কৃষ্ণ প্রভু, প্রণাম।
কেমন আছেন?
ভালো, আপনি কেমন আছেন?
ক্লাস আপনি শুরু করলেন, এখন সব শুরু হয়ে গেল।
আপনি তো শুরু করলেন, আপনি হচ্ছেন আমাদের একদম বেস।
সুন্দর হবে। হরে কৃষ্ণ।
হরে কৃষ্ণ।
হরে কৃষ্ণ।
প্রভুজি।
হরে কৃষ্ণ প্রভুজি, দণ্ডবত প্রণাম।
হরে কৃষ্ণ।
হরে কৃষ্ণ প্রভুজি, দণ্ডবত প্রণাম।
হরে কৃষ্ণ প্রভু, হরে কৃষ্ণ প্রভুজি। উপস, আমার ভিডিওটা একটু প্রবলেম দিচ্ছে। हरे कृष्णा, कैसे हैं प्रभु जी, माता जी?
जी बिल्कुल ठीक। आप दिखाई नहीं दे रहे प्रभु जी।
लॉन्ग टाइम। हाँ, मेरा वीडियो थोड़ा गड़बड़ कर रहा है, उसको ठीक कर रहा हूँ।
कितना अच्छा पिक्चर है।
एक मिनट।
আভাসটা কেমন আছেন?
ভালো ভালো।
দিদি কেমন আছেন?
আছে মোটামুটি ঠিকই আছে।
ওকে।
Tushta Prabhuji, can you please start some kirtan? I'm just sorting my video.
প্রভুজি আপনি রিস্টার্ট করতে পারেন জুমকে, তাহলে অনেক সময়
না, আমার অ্যাকচুয়ালি ওই একটা ব্যাকগ্রাউন্ড চলে আসছে, মানে ওটা ডিফল্ট সেট হয়ে গেছিল, ওটা আমি ঠিক করছি। হয়তো লগ আউট করে আবার আসতে হতে পারে।
হ্যাঁ, আমি সেটাই বলছি, সেটা করলে
বলছি আপনাকে।
আচ্ছা।
तुष्ट चैतन्य प्रभु,
हरे कृष्ण।
कीर्तन कीर्तन। जय राधा माधव करते पारे।
विष्णु पदाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने नमो विष्णु पदाय
कृष्ण
श्रीमते
भक्ति वेदांत
स्वामी नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे नमस्ते
सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे
निर्विशेष शून्यवादी जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you, Prabhu. We can conclude.
Hare Krishna.
जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री ऐसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय।
Jai.
कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय।
Jai.
रामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय।
Jai.
श्री श्री राधा गिरिधारी भगवान की जय। श्री श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा मैया की जय। श्री श्री गौर निताई की जय। गौर पूर्णिमा महामहोत्सव स्टार्टिंग की जय। जय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल।
Hare Hare Bol.
All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the lotus feet of Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Srila Gurudev. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayet nashtaprayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavate uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. Srimad Bhagavatam Puranamamalam Yadvaishnavam Priyam Yasmin Parahamsyam Ekam Mamalam Yanam Param Giyate Tatra Jnana Viraga Bhakti Sahitam Naishkarmyama Vishkritam Tachrinvan Supathan Vicharana Paro Bhaktya Vimuchye Naraha Bhaktya Vimuchye Naraha Bhaktya Vimuchye Naraha. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. We'll do the first two verses. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Janmadyasya yato anvayaditaratas charte vabhigyaswarat tene brahmaridaya adikavaye muhuyanti yatsurayaha tejo varibridam yatha vinimayo yatra trisargo amrisha Dhamna svena sada nirasta kuhakam Satyam param dhimahi Satyam param dhimahi Satyam param dhimahi dharma projita kaitavatra paramo nirmatsaranam satam vedyam vastavamatra vastu shivadam tapatrayon mulanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kim va parairishvaraha sadhyo ridyavarudyate kritibihi sushrubhistat kshana. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay. Why have only half people put their videos on? We are only what, 12 of us. Okay, it's good. Few more to go. Yeah. Don't feel shy. It's okay. We're just all at home. We're just one family. So you're just in the family. Don't worry. It's only going to be a private video. Only sent to the participants. Okay, still 3 people are shy. We have a new devotee joining us today. Anangalata Mataji.
Yes, Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Dandavat pranam to you and everyone online.
Where are you joining us from?
From Auckland. I recently moved. Me and my Prabhuji has recently moved from Wellington to Auckland.
Oh, okay.
So
Welcome.
now we're living in Auckland.
Right. So how did you know about the ISTA GOSTI?
From Mataji. Vishnupad Mataji and Srimad Prabhuji.
Okay. Right. You've been in touch with them. Okay. Yeah, just that she happens to be my wife.
Okay.
No, welcome. So this is our small study group of Srimad Bhagavatam. There you got Malati Mataji just in front of her Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna. We got Vaikunteshwar Prabhu and Ratnalekha Mataji as well. Okay, so before we start, we had a homework. Usually we have some homework so that it keeps us in slightly meditative, investigative mood throughout the week. So we had some homework. So our homework person is Revati Mataji. Can you just remind us, Mataji, what the homework was? Sometimes we forget. And then we'll get somebody to share that with us.
Hare Krishna. I have only the question. I'm not sharing answer. Find out the 5 factors that determine the seniority of the devotee. We were talking about in chapter 4, 4.1 or 2, I recall. That time this has popped up and Prabhuji has given us to investigate and tell us about this. I know Sita Mataji is ready with the answer, so I'll give her a chance.
Okay, so yes, 5 points that determine seniority. Okay, so who would like to answer? The 5 points.
Can I please?
Yes, Sitanandini Mataji, please.
Maybe it will be not right 100%, but still I'm trying. Okay. That 5 factors. First is that you discuss about that Canto 1, Chapter 4, Sloka 1. That elderly learned leader should be that seniority, the devotee. This is the quality. And then humble. So senior devotee should be the humble. Then we can take that sloka.
No, Mataji, this is not about the qualities. It is about the factors.
Factors. Okay.
That determine seniority. Like how will you know that this person is senior than me?
Okay.
That's very clear. There's no ambiguity there. It is very clear. So these points determine seniority.
Or should be elderly.
Yeah, no, it's not that in that verse.
Okay.
Those 5 points are not there in the verse. That's why we had that as a homework.
Yeah, not there, but I'm taking that one point from there. Should be elderly and learned leader. And that should be determined, should be the senior devotee will be compassion to the others.
No, those are not the points, Mataji. You will not get the answer there.
Oh.
The answer is not in the purport.
No, not in the part, but I'm taking from that etiquettes. Some from etiquettes. Yeah.
Yeah, but they don't seem right, what you're mentioning.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else?
I have made some homework on that. I'm not sure. I can read out what are the qualifications that I pointed out.
Yes, please.
And first is Diksha and the age, spiritual advancement, Borno or the social position, and the ashram on the stage of life. These are the 5 factors. Right. Anybody else who's done the homework? They want to support or add something to Prabhuji, what Prabhuji has said? Revati Mataji has already showed the thumbs up.
Prabhuji, can you please repeat it again? The 5 points, Diksha, age.
So, Baba Prabhu, you want to repeat?
I mute myself. Sorry. I'm just repeating. This is Diksha, age, spiritual advancement, Borno or the social position, or the ashram or the stage of life.
Okay, thank you.
5 factors.
So, to be very careful that when we interact with anybody for that matter, not just devotees, but even with people who are not practicing devotees, should we say, we should show respect based on these factors. And specifically when we deal with devotees, of course, in Nectar of Instruction, text 4, we talk about the 6 exchanges between devotees, right? And we also learn in text 5 and 6 how we should discriminate in terms of the respect. We should show respect to all, but the amount of respect or the level of respect varies based on their level of advancement. So we should know how to offer that respect and on what basis should we offer that respect. So first is usually, even on a material level, we know first respect is shown as per age. So when somebody is elder to us, when we say elder, meaning they were born before us, they came into this material world before us. So they are obviously much more knowledgeable, experienced, skillful than us. However intelligent we may be, we should always respect elderly. And that's why this is a common practice amongst children or taught to children that you should always respect elders. Our Guru Maharaj says, if you cannot respect your elders, especially your parents, there is no way you can respect Krishna. And there is no way you can expect mercy from Krishna, even though you may chant 16 rounds. It is just not possible. Impossible. So that's the first, age. Second is Diksha. Diksha is somebody who has taken spiritual initiation before us. So that person may be younger to us in age, but that person has taken initiation before us. So on account of that initiation taken before us, that person becomes worthy of our respect. So that is Diksha. But somebody might even say, okay, this person is maybe younger to me. This person has taken Diksha after me. Still, should I offer respect? Now that's a third point. Third point is the spiritual advancement of that person, which is a bit abstract. But as devotees or as people who are following the path, we understand that somebody who is dedicated, who is very sincere to following the devotional practices on a daily basis, that person is definitely much advanced. So, we may be doing some service, but somebody who is much junior to us is doing a lot of service. He is very dedicated, right? And we see he's always blissful. That means what? It is obvious he's much more advanced than what we are. Right? And usually a good devotee always thinks of others as more advanced. It is just by default, that the humility develops in a devotee who's very sincere. And as soon as a devotee becomes humble, he sees everybody else apart from him as advanced and naturally offers respect, which is actually a very good sign. So we should not discriminate just on age or the fact that they got initiated after us. Everybody is a devotee in the same path, moving towards Krishna. So those are the three important parts. And then the fourth and fifth are, as we understand, Varna and Ashram. So that we already know. So Varna meaning, the four occupational professional duties. So somebody who is a Brahman is given more respect than somebody who's a Kshatriya, than somebody who's a Vaishya, than somebody who's a Shudra. It doesn't mean Shudra is not given respect, but the amount of respect given to Brahmanas has to be much more reverential and much more respectful than to a Shudra. And likewise, ashram. So somebody who is in the sannyas ashram is given the maximum respect than somebody who's a vanaprastha, than somebody who's a grihastha, than somebody who's a brahmachari. Right? So it is in that order. So as soon as we see saffron, whether it's our brahmachari or sannyasi, they have to be given respect. So all the diyas, first they have to show. If they are present, they should be requested to do the arati or lead the haridhwani or kirtan or give class. First, we should approach them. If they are unable to, or they don't, or they want you to give, then you can do so. But we should always give that respect to those people. So these are the 5 important aspects or points that we should always remember. It's part of Vaishnava etiquette to offer respect to such people. And some of these points are there in this purport or in the verse, which talks about him being, what were the qualities? He has to be the 3 things: Vriddha, Kulapati, and Bhavricha. So he has to be elderly, he has to be the leader of that group, and he has to be very learned, so advanced in spiritual knowledge. Okay, that's good. Thank you. So we were up to 8, right? We finished 8.
Mataji knows it is Canto 1, 4th chapter, Mataji.
Oh yeah, Anangalata Mataji. So we are in Canto 1, chapter 4, text 9. Okay, so let's recite the verse together. Abhimanyu sutam suta prahur bhagavatottamam tasya janma mahascharyam karmani chagrinihinaha.
It is said that Maharaja Parikshit is a great first-class devotee of the Lord, and that his birth and activities are all wonderful. Please tell us about him.
So Abhimanyu Sutam, the son of Abhimanyu, and Prahur Bhagavatottamam. So he's a Bhagavat Uttamam. He's a first-class devotee, very sincere devotee, very advanced devotee. And then Tasya Janma Maha Ascharyam, that his birth is wonderful. Not only his birth, Karmani, Janma and Karmani, they are Maha Ascharyam. So why is Maharaj Parikshit's birth and activities wonderful as compared to why others are not being said or it's mentioned as all wonderful?
Lord Krishna himself protect him in his mother's womb when he was inside his mother's womb from Brahmastra or Satamaj.
Yeah, correct. He did that. But what was the wonderful part about it? Because Krishna protected Pandavas also. From miraculously protected him. When Pandavas should not have, survived only. But still Krishna protected him. So Krishna protected Parikshit also. But what is so wonderful about Parikshit being protected by Krishna?
He heard Bhagavatam from who?
He heard Bhagavatam in the womb. No, it was talking. Yeah, I mean, he obviously he was in the womb of such a glorious father and mother. But what is the wonderful aspect of his birth? Like Krishna protected him, but it is not about Krishna just protecting him. It is about how Krishna protected him.
Yeah, he went to the womb to protect him.
Yeah.
See, all others Krishna protected by planning strategically the way he wanted. Right? He told Arjun what to do, when to do, how to do. But this we know we'll be actually reading chapter 7 and chapter 8 is wonderful chapter. So that will have the details. But the wondrous part is Krishna was leaving the Pandavas to go to Dwarka. Correct? He was ready. He was departing. He was just moving away. And then Uttara came running. Right?
Yeah.
Uttara came running. So it was not part of a plan that, okay, Uttara just came running and said, Pahi Pahi Mahapate. I mean, she's like, protect me. Apart from you, nobody can protect me. It's a wonderful verse, actually. We should memorize it for problems when we face and we want to depend on Krishna. At least let's pray like that. So she came to Krishna. And then Krishna now he knew everything, of course, but he wasn't prepared for it at that time. He's leaving. He's with his confidential parshads, associates, and one of these confidential associate is in deep danger. And danger means what? In a few microseconds, not seconds, microseconds, her womb will be destroyed. And nobody can do anything about it. So just see, I mean, Krishna is leaving, not part of the plan, and there is no way the embryo can be saved. But it is said, no, Rakhe Krishna Mareke. So Krishna, in his plan, he said, no, this womb will be protected at any cost. Doesn't matter what I need to do. And Krishna took out his Sudarshan. Unplanned. And then he was standing in front of Kunti and Uttara. Simultaneously, he entered the womb of Uttara and covered himself with his energy, so that the Brahmastra is infallible. It has to find its target. Prabhupada says it did not hurt anybody else. It was only intended for the womb, for the baby. It did its job, but because Krishna's energy was protecting it, it was nullified and it went back. So the wonderful aspect is not Krishna protecting it, but how he protected. He protected a helpless mother's womb by personally. Like in other cases, he orchestrated, but he got it done through somebody. Right? But only he gave pleasure to Bhishma personally. And he protected Parikshit Maharaj personally. He could have done others also. He could have done any other way, but he protected him personally by entering into the womb. And womb is not a very, very nice place, is it not? I mean, you can say, oh, I've gone to the hill station and I was sitting there and I was protecting. That's a nice thing to do. But nobody would like to enter the womb, such a dirty place. Why? To protect his devotee. So that is what makes it wonderful. The involvement of Krishna directly in saving the womb makes it wonderful. That's why Parikshit Maharaj's birth, and we'll read more in detail. There's a whole chapter on that, of how he was born, is wonderful. So that is one part. Second is, his activities are also wonderful. How come? We actually don't know much about his activities apart from what is there in Bhagavatam. Is it not? Like, unlike Pandavas, we have so much information, how they were in childhood, how they grew, how they were, suffered so much, and then how they went to the forest, they fought the war, and they ruled nicely. Everything is there. But Parikshit Maharaj, we don't hear much, but still it is said, Karmani cha grinihina. That is karmani. His activities also are wonderful. How come?
He chastised Kali Maharaj because he was killing cow.
Kali Maharaj, Mataji is.
I mean, sorry.
Kali Maharaj.
Kali Danav.
Kali Danav.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Can you imagine a king chastising the personification of a yuga? Like yuga is time, right? Time is powerful. How can a human being chastise time? It's another form. It's another form of the energy of the Lord. So this Parikshit Maharaj was actually, he was so powerful that he could chastise even the personification of Kali Yuga. Is it not wonderful?
Yes.
Fantastic. Yeah. So that is definitely wonderful. There is one more wonderful thing, which only Parikshit Maharaj could do. None of us could even dream of doing. Even people at that time wouldn't even dare do that.
Last 7 days.
Huh?
Last 7 days.
Last 7 days, what did he do?
Yeah, he did not eat, sleep,
Eat or
and
drink
he
anything.
listened the Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yeah, 7 days Nirjala Ekadashi did.
Nirjala Ekadashi. And with rapt attention.
Yes. Even, and before that?
Before that, he also administered the state nicely. He made it, all the natural resources, everything became, he was so devotee of the Lord that he administered everything in such a nice way that all the people were dharmic, and all the natural gift of the Lord was flowing on his state. And he has made everybody God conscious during his rule. And it is considered as one of the best time.
Correct. Correct. Absolutely. Yeah, that's another one. There's a few.
He was Rajarshi.
Prabhuji, the other thing is he accepted the curse.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
How many, I mean, who will have the guts? Who will see, when you are powerful, to express your power is easy, but to not express your power, how easy is that?
Very
You know you are powerful. And when you know you are right, is it easier to express your power or suppress your power?
Express.
So it's easy to express. Oh, I'm powerful, I'm right. So I'll push you down. But I know I'm right and you are not really right. I have the power and my power is more than you. When I know it, still I accept your curse. Now, how wonderful is that? Is it not? Yeah. So we should think about these things, you know. Wonderful doesn't mean, oh, nice. Why is it wonderful? Because these things, it is not possible for an ordinary person, even at that point of time. Now to forget it only. Nobody will do that. Now somebody like this happens, they'll go to the court. They'll drag Shringi to the court.
I'll see you in the court.
Yeah. Even if I have to spend all my earnings with the lawyers, I'll sue you in court. How could you curse me? This is today's mentality. So that's why it is wonderful. And so if we actually study, we'll come to that word chapter, of course. There are so many points. So it is actually worth meditating. If maybe somebody can just see what are the information available, of course, within ISKCON, on Parikshit Maharaj's birth and different activities, apart from what we read in Bhagavatam. Maybe just do a bit of research. That's nice, very nice. I mean, he's the last, not last, there's of course Janmi Jai before it moved on, but he was the last kind of descriptive Pandava in Srimad Bhagavatam after Abhimanyu. So we need to know a bit more about his activities. Okay, so in the purport, of course, we've discussed it already, and Prabhupada exactly writes that first is he had his activities are wonderful because he chastised Kali.
Yeah.
Right, as we had just discussed, and he also had this wonderful way of giving up his body. Again, as we discussed, he did not 7 days. He did not take anything. Why? because his mind was engrossed. And this is another proof or another evidence that we cannot just fast by not engaging the mind. If our mind is not engaged, then even fasting from grains will become difficult. Forget fasting from water and food. Your mind will kill you. But if the mind is engaged appropriately, then even though you may fast from food and water for a day, you will be fine. And we find that, we have practical evidence of that from Nirjala Ekadashi. I know, in fact, most of you, if not all of you, we meet every year, and it's coming again in June. We meet one day of the year. All of the devotees are fasting from food and water, and we meet, and whole day, sometimes 6-8 hours, we just read Prabhupada Lilamrita, Bhagavatam or something. And in the evening, everybody is fresh. Nobody has any fatigue symptoms. And next day, everything is fine. If the mind is not engaged and we just end up doing normal activities, then every half an hour you look at the watch. Right? So that's wonderful. Okay, so here in this verse, there is also another question that the sages are asking. And what are they saying? That please tell us about Parikshit, who was the recipient of this Srimad Bhagavatam. And in the next few verses, this theme kind of continues. So what we'll do is we'll read up to 12 together. So we'll chant the next 3 verses. Sasamrat kasyava hetoho pandunam manavaradhanaha prayopavishto gangayam anadrityadhirat sriyam. Translation?
He was a great emperor and possessed all the opulences of his acquired kingdom. He was so exalted and he was increasing the prestige of the Pandu dynasty. Why did he give up everything to sit down on the bank of Ganges and fast until death?
Namanti yatpada niketamatmanaha Shivaya hani adhanani shatravaha Katham savira sriyamanga dushyajam Yuvai satot shratstrum aho sahasrubihi.
He was such a great emperor that all his enemies would come and bow down at his feet and surrender all their wealth for their own benefit. He was full of youth and strength, and he possessed insuperable kingly opulences. Why did he want to give up everything, including his life?
Another question. And the next one. Shivaya lokasya bhavaya bhutaye yauttama parayana janaha jivanti natmartham asau parashrayam mumocha nirvidya kutaha kalevaram.
Those who are devoted to the cause of the personality of Godhead live only for the welfare, development, and happiness of others. They do not live for any selfish interest. So even though the Emperor Parikshit was free from all attachment to worldly positions, how could he give up his mortal body, which was shelter for others?
Correct. So you see a common theme there. These sages are just astonished. And they're expressing their astonishment by asking these questions. So first they said that tell us about him. And in text 10, they knew how exalted he was. So Sa Samrat Kashyava Hetoho. So he's a great emperor and he had so many opulences. He was also so exalted that he was increasing the prestige of the Pandu dynasty. Now you can imagine this is a very strong statement. Why? Because Maharaj Pandu himself was very exalted. His 5 children were even exalted, more exalted, right? The son of specifically Arjun, Abhimanyu, was even more exalted. We heard that, right? The only way he was killed was by all the generals ganging together against him, all the Maharathis. That's the only way they could kill him. But he single-handedly defeated all the generals, including Bhishma, Drona, Karna, everybody. So he was much more exalted. And Abhimanyu's son is Parikshit. So having such a illustrious, lineage, you can imagine how much, there's a burden, sometimes that you got to live up to your expectation, live up to your reputation. So it is said that he actually not only lived up, he increased the prestige. Now that's a big statement, isn't it? It's like some businessman who's amassed, a lot of money. Normally we see his children, when they find money easy, they don't make more money, they actually spend the money. And usually in a lot of unlawful ways. But very few people who actually take the money in the right spirit and increase it appropriately for the welfare of not only the company, but welfare of society also. To find such people is very rare. So here, this is a very important aspect, that he increased the prestige of the Pandu dynasty. So such a person, how can he give everything up and sit on the bank of Ganges and fast unto death? Means such a popular person. Why should he just give up his life? For what? So that is first point, like they are questioning. Then in the next verse, 11, again, they are re-emphasizing that wonder. And they're saying that he was such a great emperor that his enemies used to come and bow down at his feet. Means he didn't have to go and conquer. Just like Yudhishthir Maharaj was referred to as Ajata Shatru, that he did not have any enemies. And even if somebody did agree with him, they also used to come and fall at Yudhishthir Maharaj's feet and say, okay, you please rule us. You please take over my kingdom. How many people can lay claim to the fact that, this is possible? Or somebody might even think of doing it. So Yudhishthir Maharaj was like that, and Parikshit Maharaj also displayed a similar quality of being Ajata Shatru. That enemies would come, they will bow down at his feet and surrender all their wealth. So they didn't have to fight a war. And not only that, he was full of youth and strength. Katham sa veera shriyam anga dushtyajam. So he was full of youth and strength, and he possessed insuperable kingly opulences. So he had opulences, he was full of youth, he was very strong. Now, when somebody has these qualities, imagine we've got a lot of money, we've got a lot of time, we are in our youth, we don't have any enemies, whatever we want to do, we just say, I desire to do this, and 100 people come in front of you and want to execute your desire. How would you feel?
Great.
Great, right? It's a dream. It's a dream. Come true or not, that's different. But it's a dream. Now, if that was to happen to us, can you imagine? Everything perfect, just like the fairy tale ending, and they lived happily ever after. I used to love this line when I used to read those books. Happily ever after. So nice. You just live with a nice feeling. So can you imagine, just imagine for a moment, this is happening to you. You don't have to struggle. You don't have to go to work. You don't have to pay your mortgage. You don't have to worry about anything. Your health is superb. There is no coronavirus around you.
It is only possible in Golakadham.
No, imagine Krishna gave you that benediction, even in this dham.
We'll become very proud, Prabhu.
Yes. Is it not? Means what? I don't have to say, I desire, I feel like having this. And imagine 100 people will come and say, Ji Hujur, what can I do for you? Like the genie.
Indra.
Okay, then how will we feel? We'll feel that on the top of the world. And when you are too much on the top of the world, automatically one person comes inside you. Yes.
Will be like Ravan.
Yeah. All those people, they come inside you without your knowledge. Okay. You develop pride. Right. And then if somebody says, okay, you have enjoyed all these opulences. Now you please leave all of this and you go. Will you go?
No,
Somebody is telling you, okay, now enough. You need to listen to Bhagavatam and you need to give up your body. Please go. Will you go? Will you even think of going? You will think of destroying that person who tells you to go. True or no? Yeah. So can you imagine? Yeah. So Parikshit Maharaj, he had all those opulences, which we can only dream of. Then he went through an incident where he was not fully, he was wrong. He did something not very appropriate, but not very bad also. And he should not have been cursed to die, which everybody acknowledged. And he was more powerful than the person who cursed him. He could have counteracted. Still, he chose not to do. And then when he realized what has happened, he immediately gave everything up voluntarily. Nobody told him, hey, Parikshit, now time tera aa gaya, you need to go. No, nobody told him. In fact, his citizens didn't want him to go. But he left everything. Isn't that wonderful? See the amount of renunciation he had within him, which is again a quality of Krishna, one of the 6 opulences. So he left everything. Right? So they're saying, why did he want to give everything up? Why? For what? And then the last verse in this section, that those who are devoted to the cause of the personality of Godhead, right? Devoted, not just I like to do. I'm devoted means this is my life and soul. That is non-negotiable. That's all I will be doing. So people who are devoted to the Lord, what do? They live only for 3 things.
Correct.
Welfare, development, and happiness of others. And because they do that, they don't have any personal self-interest. Not for me, my family, my society, my group, my people, my country. These are all self-interests, extended and personal. So they do not live for any selfish interest. So even though he was free from attachment to worldly possession, how could he give up his mortal body, which was a shelter for others? This question is very relevant. Why? The first 2 questions were about Parikshit. Like Parikshit personally, he had so many things, how can he give up? Okay. This question is deeper. This question is not about Parikshit, but this question is about others who are dependent on Parikshit. Right? So how can Parikshit give up his body, which was a shelter for others? So others are dependent on him. So how can he just desire to give it up? You see, it's a very, very relevant question. And very difficult to abandon these things when you know a lot of people are dependent on your existence. So that's why here Prabhupada has, he's talked about quite a few things here. He writes that he was an ideal king and householder. Why? Why was he an ideal king and an ideal householder? Because
Devotee of God.
yes,
Devotee of Krishna.
yes. So the fact that he was a devotee, by default, he's a great king and a householder, but not the other way around. So then Prabhupada,
Ajay?
yes.
Sorry, I had a question.
Sure.
All of Parikshit Maharaj's qualities, can we say, came about because he had darshan of Krishna in the womb? Can we understand it that way as well?
Yeah, it's both ways. I mean, Krishna wouldn't protect everybody in the womb, would he?
Yes. But he had that special benediction
Yes.
of seeing Krishna.
Yes, definitely. He was obviously not an ordinary personality. Of course, every soul is dear to Krishna, but even amongst that, his confidence or his associates are even more dear to him, and he was one such associate of Krishna. So definitely, the fact that he was an associate anyway, and the fact that Krishna's plan was to protect him at all costs so that the lineage could continue. That was the first thing. So when Krishna decides to do something, then other things are just details, how he does it. But yes, you're right. I mean, he was the only personality that we are aware who saw Krishna before he saw anybody else. Before he could even see his own mother, he saw Krishna. So that definitely is a wonderful experience. Yes, Vaikunteshwar Prabhu, you want to share something?
Yeah, Krishna protected him because he is one of the root cause for delivering the Srimad Bhagavatam. He is one of the root cause for delivering Srimad Bhagavatam in the Kali Yuga. That's why Krishna protected him, in fact, to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, and through him, Sukadeva Goswami came into existence, and he preached the Srimad Bhagavatam, and Parikshit Maharaj heard. That is one of the main reasons Krishna protected Parikshit Maharaj, to hear Srimad Bhagavatam and spread Srimad Bhagavatam in Kali Yuga. That's what my understanding.
Correct, Prabhu. No, thank you for sharing. Yes, absolutely. Krishna protected his grandfather in the battlefield, even before the battle started, right? By giving him that knowledge personally.
Yeah.
And then he protected his grandson so that his representative can give him another form of knowledge, which is basically his own literary incarnation, Krishna's own literary incarnation. So who else could be the recipient but such a person from such a lineage who's an associate of the Lord? So definitely that's one of the main key things over there. And here Prabhupada specifically here writes about those three things: welfare, development, and happiness, which nowadays people are not taught to appreciate or to think of. And when people are getting stressed, anxiety, this, that, they are taught some good values in the form of just a dilute version of these things in the world outside today. So Prabhupada writes that since he was king, for the all-round welfare of the citizens, he was always busy in their welfare work of the public, not only for this life, but also for the next. Means he was not only concerned about the welfare of the people in this life, he was also concerned about the welfare of his citizens when they give up this body and they go to the next life. He was also concerned about that aspect. So can you imagine, how deep his thought, his concern was? And naturally, if that is being taken care of, the people, they feel protected, they feel cared for, and they feel happy. When all your basic needs are cared for, when the goal of your existence is being looked after and supported, will we not feel happy?
Yeah.
Naturally, we'll be happy, right? And precisely those two things are not happening in today's world, so people are unhappy. There is no question of happiness. People are left, right, center. They are just suffering stress syndromes and anxiety syndromes. And yesterday somebody was telling me, for 1 month, this person was given some name, I think anxiety syndrome or something like that. And what is the medicine? They just say, oh, just don't get stressed so much and have some sleeping pills. This person is maybe less than 40, about maybe mid-30s age-wise. Can you imagine? anxiety syndrome. And this is common. This is very, very common. In that age group, especially, I'm sure all of us who have friends or relatives in India or anywhere in the world, they have come across these aspects or these problems that current population is facing. So here, the greatness of Maharaj Parikshit was he prepared his citizens to not only face this life, but to move on to the next life. And imagine, in citizens of such a king, they are being prepared to go back, not to take another birth. So it was just natural for them at that point to just go back to Godhead. Whereas now we have to search for the right path, and only some people who have got some sincerity and some past credits, somehow or the other, they come across Prabhupada or his representatives. And out of so many people who come across Prabhupada and his representatives, some people take it seriously. And out of some people who take it seriously, some people actually follow it strictly. Manushyanam sahasreshu. Kaschin yatati siddhaya. Manushyanam sahasreshu. Out of so many thousands, only some people, Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, they accept it. So the fact that we are somehow or the other coming together to read Bhagavatam and to relish Bhagavatam, it is not an ordinary, regular activity. It was an activity perhaps at that time, but now it's not. It's a very, very, what should we say, not confidential, but rare, very rare, very, very rare. And we should be transcendentally responsible and proud of that somehow I've been the chosen recipient for Krishna's mercy. And what is, if I have been given Krishna's mercy, I also have a responsibility. I cannot just take. I've got the mercy, I'm happy, finish. No. The fact that we've got the mercy, how do we know? We feel the desire from within to distribute that mercy back. And that is what Krishna gets pleased the most. So here, if we do not give back, then it is selfishness. Even when we get something nice, we don't distribute it back. It is selfish. You cannot keep it with you. So just like the king's duty is to guide all his subjects back to Godhead, it is also, we have to take it upon us as our duty. We may not be kings, but it is our duty as ordinary, followers of Prabhupada and of Krishna to give this knowledge back to people for their own welfare, development, and happiness. And the conclusion of this paragraph, Prabhupada writes, if all living beings are satisfied with food, shelter, and obey the prescribed duties, there cannot be any disturbance between one living being and another. So it is not that the people only are happy. When the country is ruled by such a Rajarshi, even the earth, the production, everything becomes very, very, very methodical, everything falls in place. And even the earth is happy. The fruits, the trees are happy. All living entities are happy. And everybody cooperates and produces profusely so that everybody can benefit from it, which we see is not happening now. So that's the touch, those questions about Maharaj Parikshit. Now, why this is being emphasized on? Because as soon as this section finishes about the conversation between Narad Muni and Vyasadeva, the next section is about Parikshit, the details of his ancestors right up to his birth and how he actually sat down to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, move to text 13. Tat sarvam na samachakshva prishto yad iha kinchana manye tvam vishaye vacham snatam anyatra chandasat. Okay.
We know that you are expert in the meaning of all subjects except some portions of the Vedas, and thus you can clearly explain the answers to all the questions we have just put to you.
All of you have read this verse and purport?
Some time ago, yes.
Some time ago. Yeah.
I read, yeah.
So it is said, they say that we know that you are expert in the meaning of all subjects. And that's why we want to put this question to you. Logical. But they add one extra clause in that question. And what is that? Except some portion of the Vedas. Means you know everything except some portion. Still we want to ask you. Why is it that?
Because that the Karmakanda section that was not gone through by Shukdev.
Yeah. So why do you think he said that? Okay, Prabhu says it's related to the Karmakanda section. So you're asking somebody a question and saying, oh, you're an expert on this subject matter, except some parts of the subject, but can you please answer my question? I mean, it sounds a bit offensive, isn't it? You say I'm an expert, and then you say, oh, you're an expert except for some parts. And it's the mind, when you tell the mind, keep it confidential, secret, the mind starts thinking, who can I tell it to in confidence? And that's how, the mind is exactly like that. So the fact that they have said, except some part, the mind goes there only and thinks, why? Why he's not expert in some parts?
There's a Prabhuji, I think Srila Prabhupada explains there's a difference between Brahmanas and Parivracharya's.
Yes. What is the difference?
So the Brahmanas, for example, would be able to recite the mantras perfectly, whereas the Parivracharya's, their focus is on preaching.
Yes.
Sitting at one place.
Yes, correct. So Prabhupada talks about that. So why Parivrajakacharyas cannot chant the mantras perfectly like Brahmanas? What is stopping them?
They're not concerned about rituals and fruitive sacrifices.
What are they concerned about?
They want to share the knowledge to others.
Transcendental
Spread
knowledge.
the message.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do we understand the difference? So is Prabhupada a Brahmana or a Parivrajacharya?
Parivracharya.
Sure.
Both.
Yeah.
Both and more, because he's got the back door ready for us, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. He's both.
Yeah.
He's both. And as followers, we should think that, or we should have not think, but we should have complete faith in that statement. But if we compare the two, Prabhupada is basically focusing more on the Parivrajacharya aspect of spiritual progress. Why? Because Parivrajacharya is what? They are people who travel. I think, was it in Bhagavatam before, or?
Yeah.
We talked about that, right? Parivrajacharya. So there's those four states we talked about. So Parivrajacharya is somebody who travels all over. For what? So that he can look at new lands and get good experience.
For preaching.
For us, for our benefit.
Yes. His goal is to spread the message of the Lord to all living entities. That is his primary purpose. And to do that, whatever mantras are required, he learns and he trains others to do them. But he does not focus on the perfect meter. The mantras are recited properly. There is no ambiguity there. But for the Vedic mantras, they have a certain meter in which you could do. Ishvaraha Parama Krishnaha. Our Venkatesh Prabhu, you know how he recites. That's that perfect, the Vedic meter. That's how it should be. That is what is prescribed in the Vedas. But the mantras are recited in that particular way for what? What is the purpose? That sometimes people lose focus of. They are more focused on the perfect pronunciation than the goal of that pronunciation, than what needs to be done. Right? So that's where the difference comes. And unfortunately, because there was no knowledge or education in this regard, people have got this impression that Vedic mantras only you can chant perfectly. Oh, sorry, only if you can chant perfectly, you should chant. Otherwise, you should not. So that's why you see when we go and tell people to chant Mahamantra, first thing they ask is, I have to take bath and chant. Why? Because they know. They know that mantra means you got to be purified and then chant. Then when we tell them to recite Bhagavad Gita, what do they say? I don't know Sanskrit. Yeah, I can't chant mantras properly. No, you can chant anyway. No, Bhagavad Gita, you should chant properly. Otherwise, it's very offensive. I don't know if you've come across this.
Yeah.
Now, nowadays, see, we don't know whether I cannot chant mantra and because I don't want to chant, or I genuinely feel that I might commit offense. I think it's more the first option. It's a good excuse for not, pushing myself to do these things, although I feel it is good. So we are faced with these. Why? Because that is the conditioning of society over the many years, that Brahmanas are supposed to only recite Vedic mantras. Of course, they are qualified to do that, not just out of birth. And because they do that, others can't do it. Or if we do it, we will create some offense. So this understanding is very important, that yes, mantras are important, but they are only important to lead us towards the Supreme Lord, to lead us towards the service of the Lord. So if by chanting the mantras perfectly, the goal is to go to the Supreme Lord, Parivrajakacharyas are taking you to the Supreme Lord straight away. So they're not doing anything different. They're doing the same thing in a more suitable way, or in a way that is tailor-made for that audience or for the recipient. So here it is said that similarly, Suta Goswami, being kind of the disciple, should we say, of Sukadev Goswami, hearing Bhagavatam from him, had heard Bhagavatam from a devotional perspective. And the goal of that was to connect and connect directly to the Supreme Person. So to do that, reciting the mantras perfectly was not very important in the right meter. So Suta Goswami was not very conversant with reciting the mantras perfectly in the right meter. And these sages, 88,000 sages were assembled, they knew that. So they said that, yes, you are expert, except some portions that talk about the ritualistic recitation of those mantras perfectly, that aspect you are not aware of. Why? Because it is not important from your perspective to achieve the ultimate goal. Not that you don't know some part of it. Okay, so we should be very clear in our mind that it is more of a discriminatory thing by the sages to make us aware that the focus of the Vedas is to come to Krishna. Bhagavad Gita 15:15. Sarvasya chaham
matasmriti viganam apohanam cha vedeshcha sarve ahamev vedanta pritveda videbhachaham.
So the ultimate purpose of the Vedas is to know the Supreme Lord. And Parivrajakacharyya exactly does that. And then Prabhupada writes in the second purport that there is no difference also between the Vedic mantras and what is explained in the Puranas and Itihas. According to Jiva Goswami, it is mentioned in Madhyandina Shruti that all the Vedas, namely all these Vedas, are emanations from the breathing of the Supreme Being. And of course, he talks about the details, the technical details of how the mantra starts and everything else. So then Prabhupada at the end, he concludes by saying, Srila Suta Goswami is following the footsteps of Sukadev Goswami. Therefore, his position is not the less important, because he was not expert in chanting Vedic mantras with metric pronunciation, which depends more on practice than actual realization. Because if there is no realization, then even the Mahamantra, even the Bhagavad Gita will become a ritual. We are saying Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo because like a parrot, but inside we are not realizing that Krishna is actually Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo. We have to realize it. How do we realize it? When we are fully convinced with reasons that yes, he is the source of everything. We should have the correct understanding, and we should have the right way of communicating this understanding with others. It is said, if we cannot explain something to others in a methodical, analytical way, that means our own understanding is flawed. And we need to study more and hear more. Very, very important. So Prabhupada's right. Realization is more important than parrot-like
chanting.
Sutta vacha dvapare samanu prapte tritiye yuga paryaye jataha parasharad yogi vasavyam kalaya harehe. Okay.
Sutta Goswami said, when the second millennium overlapped the third, the great sage Vyasadeva was born to Parasara in the womb of Satyavati, the daughter of Vasu.
So this is another aspect, like we talked about in the last verse, which talks about the technical information of the 4 yugas, the four millenniums. And usually the chronological order is Satya, Dwapar, Treta, and Kali. But it is said that in the 20, so it goes like this. So it says in the 28th cycle, somehow it overlapped. That cycle kind of overlapped. It's a bit technical. Don't ask me how. And because of that overlap, the middle 2 yugas, they kind of mirror imaged. So instead of after Satya, instead of Dwapar, it was Treta, and after Treta came Dwapar, and then Kali, which is the current yuga that we are going through. So before this Kali yuga, we were into Treta or Dwapar.
Like Purushottam Mahaprabhu overlapped.
That overlaps, but I'm saying
We'll
before this,
understand.
so in this yuga currently that we are in, it is in that overlap period where the Treta and Dwapar, they got interchanged. So at the Yuga Sandhayam, so at the junction of that change, that's when Vyasadeva was born. And his parentage is mentioned here. And then, of course, the last few, the next verse talks about how he actually sat down to do what he was doing and what were his concerns. So this is like a prelude to the subject matter of how Bhagavatam actually came about. So from this verse, the whole description kind of starts. Sa kadachit saraswatya upasprishya jalam shuchihi vivikta eka asina udite ravi mandale.
Once upon a time, he, Vyasadeva, as the sun rose, took his morning ablution in the waters of Saraswati and sat alone to concentrate.
Paravaragya sa rishihi kale avyaktaram hasa yugadharmyavadikaram praptam yuge yuge.
The great sage Vyasadeva saw anomalies in the duties of the millennium. This happens on the earth in different ages due to unseen forces in the course of time.
So what were the anomalies? What did he see? Is described in the next 2 verses. Bhautikanam cha bhavanam shakti rasham cha tatkritam ashraddha dhanam nisatvam durmedhan rishika yushaha durbhagam ska jananvikshya punir divyena chakshusha sarva varna shradanam yad dadyau hitam amodadrik.
The great sage, who was fully equipped in knowledge, could see through his transcendental vision the determination of everything material due to the influence of the age, he could also see that the faithless people in general would be reduced in duration of life and would be impatient due to lack of goodness. Thus, he contemplated for the welfare of man in all statuses and orders of life.
This verse is again very important. Remember in chapter 1 we discussed a verse
1:10.
Yes, Prayana Alpa Aisha Sabhya Vasmin Yuge Janaha Manda Sumanda Matayor Manda Bhagya Upaditaha. That these were the characteristics of people in the age of Kali. So it's 1:10. And this verse is a similar verse where Vyasadeva it didn't happen at that time, okay? He could see this happening in the future. He could foresee. So what did he foresee? He saw that the deterioration of everything material, anything material will deteriorate, right? That's number one. Second is he could also see that people would be faithless. They will have no faith. Right? Third, they would be reduced in the duration of life. And fourth, they would be impatient due to the lack of goodness. So four attributes he could see. Deterioration, faithlessness, life gets reduced,
duration reduced, and
impatient
due to the lack of goodness.
Yeah. So DFLI. So characteristics of Kali Yuga, part 2. So everything will deteriorate. What is good today will not remain. It will slowly become bad. And we see it happening around us, right? Anything that was good 50 years back, whether it is good quality, whether it was good food, whether it was good vegetables, whether it was good fruits, whether it was good lifestyle, do we have that today?
No.
Nothing. You tell me one thing that was not so good then is good now. And the first thing people will say is what, you know?
Technology.
Thank you, Mataji. I know we've quite a few IT people here, high-tech people. So I'm sure they'll have their own answers. But that is what people will normally argue, isn't it? Arey, what do you say? We are so technologically advanced. We've got supercomputers and everything is, you know, in the watch now. Before it used to be some big dabba computer. Then it became flat screen. Then it became big screen. Then it became laptop. Then it became iPad. Then mobile phone. Now watch. Now next I don't know. God knows what will happen after the watch. Maybe chip in the body, right? You just press one part of your body and you can talk to people. I don't know what's going to happen, but something like this. And people will say, oh, we are so advanced. So what would you answer? What would you say to that?
So that has not, all that could not make change in the quality of life.
Well, they'll say, well, my quality of life is so good. 5 years back, I had to, maybe not 5 years, but 10 years back, we had to do a trunk call to call some relatives in India. Now, accidentally, my hand hits the phone and I can call. You know, pocket calls nowadays, you have suddenly somebody calls you and you reply back and say, you called me? No, I got a missed call. No, oh, pocket call. I didn't even know when I heard it for the first time. What do you mean by pocket call? Arey, pocket mein kyun call karega? I said, no, maybe accidentally ho gaya. So people will say, accidentally I can call people in US, Europe, anywhere. And before you had to book the call, pay so much money, and then you can speak for 10 minutes maybe. So this is technological advancement. We are much better off than before. Right? Before you had to read 10 books. Now in my mobile phone, I can read 1,000 books.
But unfortunately, we don't read Prabhuji. That is the problem. We have books,
that is another story.
And
I've got access. I've got all of that.
That's why we are. Yeah, that's why we are Alpa Ayu. Anxiety.
All answers in Google Guru.
Correct. But still advancement, na, Prabhu.
Point bol raha hai, Prabhu. Ki advancement.
So this is all advancement. You guys were so backward. You didn't have anything. Now the child from the womb, you know, they're all descendants, you know, they are from the womb, they know how to handle a mobile phone. You don't have to teach a child. You will teach a child how to walk, but you don't have to teach a child how to handle mobile phone. Before you realize, you buy a new phone, before you start figuring it out, your children will tell you, Ma, do like this. It's true or no? They are all programmed.
So laptop too, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Yeah, kids do the laptop so well.
Correct.
2 years, grandson says, oh, Daddy, laptop. As soon as he comes, he wants a laptop. So this is what it is. But it is good that we are all in the Zoom at the moment with this laptop. So we are studying, and that's good advancement for us.
Yeah. But then my question still remains. How would you counteract the fact that today we are much more advanced than what we were 50 or 100 years before?
The health issue.
Health? Well, health is better. Now we've got vaccinations. Before you guys didn't have vaccination. You just died when you got the disease. Now we've got vaccinations. We've got medical treatment.
Cases are increasing. Vaccinations.
Doesn't matter. I've got vaccination. I mean, people die, you know. That's okay. People will have to die. But then my chances of surviving are much better than 50 years before. So it's advancement. What do you say to that? Yeah.
It's good advancement, Prabhuji. I mean, it is in one way, it's good that we are connecting to technology all over the world. But look at the other side effects. Like, you know, people are getting more hooked to the social media, and, you know, they're getting frustrated. They have got all those peer pressures. And for that reason, there's a lot of frustration build up, and people are committing suicides, especially young generation.
Yes.
That way.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah.
Advantage and disadvantages. I think disadvantages are, you know, you can take advantage of technology, and there are too many disadvantages as well.
Correct. Yes, that's a valid point, that along with something good, you've also got something very nice, I mean, very bad, which is in increasing proportions.
Yeah, but
that's it. What else?
The nature is getting corrupted, polluted a lot because of this, right? Like everywhere it's polluted. But in past 70 years back, if you go back and see, it was not as bad as like this. That's what, because the resources from the earth are getting deteriorated. We are destroying it because of this technology, because we want everything.
Correct.
Oil, everything. We are digging, and
yes.
So that
relationship is spoiled.
Good point.
Nature.
Good point.
Yeah.
So now, very, very valid point. See, we were just reading that during Maharaj Parikshit's reign, all living entities, including Mother Earth, was so happy that they were profusely giving more than what they normally would.
Yes.
Right? Now, even you put so much soil and fertilizer, you hardly get anything. Why? Because Earth is concealing. She's not willing. She's not happy. Very true. So the nature is actually revolting in so many ways. You know, these natural calamities are what?
From us.
Yeah. So definitely that is there. So not only the nature of like Prakriti, it is also the nature of human beings or living entities. It's very, very envious. So yeah, very valid point, Mataji. What else?
Relationship is spoiled.
How?
Because there is
no. It used to be spoiled. How now it's spoiled more?
Extramarital affairs.
Even before it used to happen. Now it's just easier to happen. That's all. But it still happens.
I think no physical contact. Physical contact is different. Like, you know, when you are not physically talking to a person, but you're only connected via device, it's not the same, you know.
Yes, but you might say, okay, fine. I mean, that's still advancement. We may not be connected that way, and you're backward. You want me to physically meet you all the time. You're too demanding. But see, we can meet like this, and you know, it's advancement.
But I think, yeah.
But Prabhuji, the other way to answer that question is to ask, throw the question back and say, okay, if we've advanced, then why don't we have solution for birth, death, disease, and old age?
Yeah, that's of course a universal question back. But I was thinking more in terms of, see, like when somebody is asking a question in their language, we have to ask or answer in their language. Like for them, birth, death, old age, disease is something that's, you know, it's not a problem. I mean, it's just, I mean, we take birth, we'll die, but don't talk about it now, please. You know, be positive.
Yeah.
You know, that's the comment people usually give. So old age, yeah, I mean, it's going to happen. So what? And disease, it's not a big problem. But they feel other problems are bigger than these 4 problems because they're not in that understanding. So they are just so proud of their technology and their advancement that they are not seeing the pitfalls or the problems that the whole world is facing. So not as followers of Bhagavatam, we have to understand this matter. And we have to contemplate on this, that what is it? See, we have to acknowledge that advancement in terms of technology has happened. That is a given. You cannot argue against it. But like Pooja Mataji just mentioned, that in the name of technological advancement, which we have gained, what have we lost? You see, what have we lost? See, why are we discussing this? We were saying deterioration, right? So we are saying things have deteriorated. So whilst you might have got something good, many other things have deteriorated. So if we just put some thoughts into it, that what do you think has deteriorated? And of course, we had quite a few comments in the forum today, but I would like you to just contemplate a bit more. Maybe second homework. One was Parikshit Maharaj. Second is this, is to, and you don't have to refer, like this is more practical application. Parikshit Maharaj was knowledge based, so you do some research, but this is more practical because you have spoken to people, you have preached, you have done programs, you have been asked this question, you know how people sometimes really argue forcefully. So if a forceful person was to come in front of you and ask this question or argue, how would you systematically counteract that and at the end give them the solution? Because until people feel exhausted, they will not take your solution. They will just not take it. So we have to come to the point where they have no other argument, in a nice way, not to, you know, don't become like one of them. And then once they have exhausted all their armor and they have nothing else to support their argument, then we say, by the way, I'm not discussing something new. It's there, given by Vyasadeva many thousands of years back. By the way, if you're keen, you can have access to it and leave it at that. So maybe let's do this exercise. Okay, so whatever you feel, and make it very crisp. We don't want big essays, but just very bullet point crisp things. So what is it that we have gained? Talk about both. What is it that we have gained? Because let's be analytical. We don't want to sound very pessimist. And what have we lost or deteriorated?
Can we say, Prabhuji, language and culture and traditional values lost?
Whatever you feel appropriate. See, there is no right and wrong answer to this. It is about perception. Okay, so let's do that exercise. In the next session, we'll discuss all of what you have given, and then it can be maybe collated together as a document of things that we have deteriorated in Kali Yuga, like practical, tangible things, and all of us can have access in our preaching in future. How about that?
Nice.
Sounds good. Excellent. All right. On that account, we'll finish here. There's a few other things in the purport, but we'll discuss it next time. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Bhagavatam ki jai.
Homework is constant.
Krishna Prabhu ki
Jai.
Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhu bhayeva jagatitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namo.
Namo Namo.
If anybody has any questions or things to share, please do so on today's discussion or anything about Bhagavatam in general.
Yeah, I want to welcome my god sister Prabhuji. I forgot to say, and that's why Kali became Maharaj for me.
Right.
Welcome Anang Manjari Mataji. Nice to see you.
Thank you, Mataji. Anangalata.
Anangalata. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, we saw her join in, so Mataji introduced herself to the group and we all kind of welcomed her. So nice to have devotees relishing Bhagavatam together. Such wonderful.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for including me in. It was a wonderful session. I really liked being in this group and getting some platform to learn. So it is really good.
But you are still missing Wellington Prabhuji and Mataji.
Yes, I am, but this group is not letting me miss it, so it is good.
Oh.
All right. All good. And as all of you are aware, we are starting this Gaur Purnima festival online program from today evening. So every day evening, 7:30 onwards, NZ time, we will have 7-day Gaur Katha. And apart from that, Sita Nandini Mataji has organized a special program, which I'm sure all of you have read, on Monday evening at 6 o'clock. And that is primarily for new people, new devotees, people who are just coming to your read and relish groups, or they're not really much aware of the philosophy, but they are keen. So please pass on the link to anybody you feel may benefit from it. It's just a general introduction to who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and why his incarnation is so important for people in Kali Yuga to make spiritual progress. That's the theme of the whole program for Monday. So Monday is at 6 to 7:30, and then again normal Gaur Katha will continue 7:30 onwards. Okay, so please pass it as much as possible. Let's reach out to maximum people and think about their welfare, development, and make them happy. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.